Well, I mean, John, you make an absolutely pertinent point, and it's very interesting. The first time it was you, actually, first time that really woke me up to this. When I remember in Lagan Valley when I was doing one of the rallies, you asked the bench, Jim Allister, Robbie Butler, Jeffrey Donaldson, Kate Hoey, and me. You asked each of us whether we'd support the Belfast Agreement, and frankly, I was taken aback by your question because I was there fighting the protocol. I wasn't there fighting the Belfast Agreement. And I thought to myself, is John biting off more than we can chew? Because, yeah, I agree, the Belfast Agreement was taking defeat out of the jaws of victory, but is this now the time for the fight? And I've realized, actually, John, and it is largely down to you waking me up with that question. And then Jamie Bryson went on to say a few things that really resonated with me, that actually the Belfast Agreement, it may not be the foundation of the problem. I think the foundation of the problem may even go further back than that, like the common travel area, the right for Irish citizens to vote in Northern Ireland and so on. There may be more fundamental foundations going even further back. But the Belfast Agreement is certainly a very, very big step towards the appeasement of nationalists, the appeasement of terrorists, and turning, again, Westminster turning its back on its obligations to British citizens in Northern Ireland. And if our government can't get behind the Belfast Agreement to make it work for unionism, if our government actually tinkers with the Northern Ireland Act 1998 to foist upon unionists in Northern Ireland the protocol which is so obviously against the union, then I think the Belfast Agreement cannot be trusted. It cannot be relied on. And if that's where the government wishes to take events, if that's what it wants to put in unionism's face, then unionism must stand up to the government and say, we're not going to abide by this agreement, because the government of the United Kingdom itself isn't abiding by it. And, I think you're absolutely right in making that argument.
Just to hear them say, welcome to the home. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Well, good evening and welcome to another Restore Live. Restore Live got out as usual on a Wednesday evening to Restore UK. That's on Facebook, also to the British Unionist People's Voice and to the YouTube channel, which is Restore UK. From here, what you can do if you're new to the channel, I see the numbers going up fairly well this evening, which is really always, it's welcome to see. So I would like you to tag into the live chat anyone that you think that may want to watch a broadcast like this evening. We have some very important announcements to make. Also, we're going to talk about things that we couldn't have talked about until Monday of this week. We were under strict instructions not to say anything, and well, now we can talk about certain things, and that's because that we have crossed a particular milestone, a milestone in which there is absolutely no return. Now, we've held this secret for, I'm going to guess, going back, it's hard to remember. I'm going to say some coming 2 years, perhaps. Now, the people that would know us, personally, well, some people would know what I'm about to say, and others won't. But again, we were sworn to secrecy over a particular thing, and we're going to be talking about that very, very shortly. And in fact, in the very, very near future, you're going to be hearing a lot about it. Let's just say this. The people at Restore, myself, and some of our background team, well, we'll be attending the Supreme Court for the application against the protocol, and the very fact that the EU protocol, well, it's constitutional changing, and not a lot of people knows this, but going back in its embryonic form, well, the people at Restore, we were actually involved also, aside from the case from which Jim Allister and Kate Hoey and Ben Habib would be running, but we were also involved in our own case against this constitutional EU protocol. Suffice to say, we'll talk about that in the very, very near future on this actual event. So you can be looking forward to that in soon. And please accept my apologies if you don't already know, but we were sworn to secrecy because there were certain milestones that we had to cross before that it was that we could speak about certain things. So anyway, moving on. You might see the background. I'll just pop myself down for a second. So again, as I said, that scene in the background being chosen very specifically for this evening as we go to speak. Now, you've got to excuse me, listen to me. You can hear me sort of congested in my head and everything else. And I have been actually since last Wednesday evening. when I thought that it was hay fever and hay fever solely that was having me congested. But truth of the matter is that I haven't left the house since last Wednesday. Having taken a bad cold. I didn't test positive for anything. I mean, the lateral flow test give me the all clear. But I have to say, I went through a fairly bad time in terms of having, and I'm going to say, quote unquote, a man flu. But here I am this evening, and Jim Werner, a man that works in our background, well, he thought that I wasn't going to be able to broadcast this evening. But with the aid of, let's say, just a locket and some olive oil and even, some water and so on, we'll get through this broadcast very well. Thank you. So look, thanks very much for coming along. And what I would like to ask you to do is to share this screen, tag people into the live chat. This is a very, very important broadcast here at Restore. Like other broadcasts are very important at Restore UK. But what this one in particularly, having crossed a milestone just Monday there past, well, what we want to do is that we want to discuss the European Union. We want to say that with foresight, and now with added hindsight, which is seemingly contradictory in that very statement, foresight with added hindsight. Well, with that foresight, that we believe that we were not going to be able to leave the EU. I mean, I'm on record, and we'll read it out, what it was that I had written some 3 months before the Brexit campaign in March of 2016. Hotel California Brussels was the title of the piece that I wrote. Hotel California Brussels. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. And why was it that I was able to write such a piece? Been able to write that in pure confidence that that's exactly what would happen. You see, I was able to write that because that the EU has formed. That if there is a vote, if there's a vote against something that they do not want to pass, well, you literally, this is a club behind me that if you join, well, as per the words of that song, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Such is the dictatorship, the dictatorial Ponzi scheme that occupies these buildings behind me, that they think that they can push people around. They think they can remove people from their democracy. They think that they can cancel out democracy when it happens from the people. Well, they may be able to do that in the Irish Republic, but they'll not be able to do that in Northern Ireland. They may be able to do that in other places around the European Union. But if people within the United Kingdom stick together, well, together we are strong. And well, I'm of no illusion that the greater number of people from within the United Kingdom, well, they wish to leave completely this dictatorial Ponzi scheme before it pulls us down with it. However, there are a small amount of elites within our parliament, within our own political parties that we elect here in Northern Ireland, in England, in Scotland, and in Wales, who want their feet under that table, those tables within those buildings, and they will do anything to ensure that they are okay, whilst the people within the United Kingdom, whilst they're, well, we were only humble rungs in a ladder which helped those self-servers into power. And once in power, they kick away the ladder with no concern for those of us that do not give them the authority. Now, those words were taken from a speech from Edward Carson from just over 100 years ago. Some of the words I just changed on the hoof there, but those words are very fitting for that organization and for exactly what it is that some of our political leaders, some of our own political leaders, some of them, and I have to add this, some of them that I believe that are beginning to realize that the people, that the electorate, that the people of the United Kingdom, that the people of Northern Ireland specifically, well, they were streets ahead of the political class when they thought that they could deal with a dictatorial Ponzi scheme that doesn't want to listen to the democratic wishes of any people, let alone that conglomerate known as the EU and all the peoples that reside within that EU. You got to excuse me for the way that it was that we started, where straight off, normally what we do is we play an introduction and we play a little song. But the truth of the matter is that I was still preparing as I was going for what it was that I was going to be speaking about this evening. So what I want to do is that I want to read from something this evening. Now, again, I'm going to be stopping and starting as a result of, listen to me, I sometimes would have to stop to take a sip of water or whatever as I go. So, yeah, but we're going to get over with what it is that we want to actually do. So if you bear with me for a second whilst I actually get set up. Now, what I want to do is I want to help people understand how that it is that we've gotten to the stage in where that there was a Brexit referendum on the 23rd of June in 2016. And 17.4 plus million people, well, they voted to leave this conglomerate who reside in this building behind us. We don't want to leave our brothers and sisters right across Europe. We do not want to do that, but we want to leave the dictatorship from within this building. And, you know, to remind people again that we did actually leave by way of 17.4 plus million people placed their X on the ballot box on the referendum ballot paper, and they decided to leave the EU. Now let's just recap and understand how that it was that things were defined by David Cameron before the Brexit referendum. Now this was the full definition of how that it was that the Brexit vote, the EU referendum vote, how that it was that it would be delivered after whatever decision would have been made, whether people would have decided to stay and remain within the EU or whether people would have decided to leave the EU. Let's just hear from David Cameron.
So to those who suggest that a decision in the referendum to leave would merely produce another stronger renegotiation and then a second referendum in which Britain could stay, I say, think again. The renegotiation is happening right now, and the referendum that follows will be a once-in-a-generation choice, an in or out referendum. When the British people speak, their voice will be respected, not ignored. If we vote to leave, then we will leave. There'll not be another renegotiation and another referendum. So I say to my European counterparts with whom I'm negotiating, this is our only chance to get this right for Britain and for the whole European Union. And I say to those who are thinking about voting to leave, think very carefully because this choice cannot be undone.
So whatever way we vote, it will be delivered. It'll be delivered for the people. There will be no renegotiations. We will be leaving. And we will be leaving, well, how? That was David Cameron defining what the outcome of the Brexit referendum would actually be. So what we now want to do is that we want to show exhibit, let's just say, number 2. And we want to now further define how that referendum was defined right around the United Kingdom. And I'll speak as I go whenever I pop this up. You see, there was a referendum on the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union. You only vote once by putting a cross, an X in the box next to your choice. Should the United Kingdom remain a member of the European Union or leave the European Union? And there was only 2 options for you. And you could have either designated your X in the box closer to remain a member of the European Union or leave the European Union. And it just so happened in that referendum defined on this ballot paper or this ballot card, it says that this was a referendum on the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union. Now, the United Kingdom is made up of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And that is very, very clearly set out. It didn't say, well, if Northern Ireland were to vote differently, or they were, there was more people in Northern Ireland voted for to leave or to remain, well, they could remain and the rest would leave, or so on and so forth. I mean, there was no variation. This was the ballot paper. This was the definition of what the referendum would be. And this is very important. This is exactly what you and I and everyone else, well, you see, what we did is that the minute that we took that ballot paper in our hands, the minute that we placed an X in whatever box, and the minute that we popped it into that ballot box, well, what we were doing is that we were entering into a contract to respect the outcome of this democratic referendum. Now, some would say that the referendum, which they did, was advisory. But the reality was, we'll just let you hear David Cameron define what the referendum was. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. David Cameron was the man that called the referendum. David Cameron had the absolute right to define that referendum, to which he did. And the reality was that more people, 17.4 plus million people, placed their X in leave the European Union. And we joined the European Union together as one United Kingdom. And as per this ballot paper, the referendum on the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union, well, one would expect that we would all leave the European Union in exactly the same way. Leaving as one United Kingdom, not having any separation, not having democracy defined in a way that if there was 4 constituent parts, 3 constituent parts would be treated differently than 1 constituent part, 3 constituent parts having somewhat achieved Brexit, although in not the way that it should have been done. That's in England, Scotland, and Wales. But 3 constituent parts of the United Kingdom having achieved near to Brexit, and Northern Ireland haven't achieved absolutely nothing of the sort. Now, you tell me that that is right, and I will say that that is an absolute corruption of the democratic process. So we now find ourselves in April of 2022, some 14 coming towards 15 months of a constitutional changing EU protocol having been foisted upon the people of Northern Ireland in order that, say, Boris Johnson could deliver on what he had proposed in his Conservative manifesto, that he would be the Prime Minister that would get Brexit done. Well, Boris, you may have got Brexit done for people in England, Scotland, and Wales, but you most certainly did not get Brexit done for the people of Northern Ireland. You most certainly did not get Brexit done for our fishermen. And, well, let's not get into other areas of Brexit. Let's just say that there were certain aspects of Brexit there that were not delivered whatsoever. And that's the reality. There's where we find ourselves in April of 2022. And I thought that it was best giving a bit of context as to why that it is that we find ourselves in the position that we do today. Now, what I want to do at this stage, people, and you've got to excuse me, is that I'm going to play a short clip. I'm going to play a song, which really you would have thought that was written for this day. You would have thought that was written for the separation that has occurred within the United Kingdom. You would have thought that it was written for the breakup of the United Kingdom and who that it was that came in to break up the United Kingdom. And I want to play this here for documentary purpose, because this is a very important stream to the people here at Restore UK. And if you understand what it is that we're doing today, well, you will understand also, if you are a Brexiteer. If you belong to the United Kingdom, if you're from Northern Ireland and you cherish your place within the United Kingdom, if you're from England, Scotland, and Wales, and you also respect the United Kingdom, well, this song, when you would understand that this song, you would have thought that that song was written a very, very long time ago, and it was written for this purpose, for today, for what has happened in a totally unpalatable way.
There is freedom within, there is freedom without. Try to catch a deluge in a paper cup. There's a battle ahead, many battles are lost, but you never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Towing my car, there's a hole in the roof. My possessions are causing me suspicion, but there's no proof. In the paper today, tells a warrant of waste, but you turn right over to the TV page. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come to build a wall between us. You know that they won't win. To the door of your heart. Only shadows ahead, barely clearing the roof. Get to know the feeling of liberation and relief. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come between us. You know that they won't win. La 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 la
In late 2019, early 2020, a group of people, including people here at Restore UK, when we seen how things were going with reference the Brexit scenario, what we did was that we sat down as a think tank, and not just people from Northern Ireland, but people from England, Scotland, and Wales also. And we sat down together, and we forged a strategy that should the unpalatable happen, which we expected to, in other words, we would be shafted with reference to the Brexit process. Well, what we decided that we were going to do is that we were going to launch some judicial reviews, not just from here in Northern Ireland, but from England, Scotland, Wales, and in Northern Ireland. Now, as time went on, what it was that we had decided, circumstances overtook, and it looked as if, well, it transpired that England, Scotland, and Wales were going to be getting what was as good as Brexit. However, I would still call Brexit in name only. Well, it turned out that Northern Ireland were the people that were to be the, let's just say, an item in a divorce settlement. We became not an entity within the United Kingdom, but we became an item that was to be bartered in a divorce settlement. And well, we all seen what happened. What happened was that we were given to the EU as part of that settlement. Now, make no mistake, that's exactly what had happened. In order that Boris Johnson could get his Brexit done, well, he was prepared to sacrifice Northern Ireland as part of a divorce settlement. Now, talking to a professor from the University of Liverpool, Professor John Tong, started last year after the protocol had come into being. And John Tong is on record of having said that the EU played the border for all that it was worth. Not just did the EU play the border for all that it was worth, well, the Irish America played the border for all that it was worth. The Irish government played the border for all that it was worth. The IRA, they played the border in a subliminal way for all that it was worth. The Republican movement played the border for all that it was worth. There was a subliminal threat of violence over the border. And, some people, well, they decided that, maybe Northern Ireland was worth giving away in some sort of divorce settlement over Brexit. So we had anticipated this way back. Now, what I want to do before I go on to speak some more is I want to draw your attention to a post, something that was on Restore UK and has been on Restore UK from, I'm just checking a date here if you bear with me, from the 17th of January in 2019. Whenever I talk about January, whenever I talk about, a group of people coming together in January in 2019, 2020, speaking about what that it was that we believed was the potential to happen over the Brexit process. So what I want to do is I want to actually read from something. Right, on the run up to me reading what happened on the early part of January in 2019, I want to read from something that I wrote on the back of this morning. Here goes. It's worth remembering and re-examining the exact corruption that misappropriated and used Northern Ireland as an item in a divorce settlement, shafting the fishermen and doing unquantifiable damage to many businesses UK-wide. Recently, the Court of Appeal in Belfast ruled whilst applicants against the EU protocol were right in their arguments because Westminster is sovereign. Well, this means Westminster can rip up whatever internationally recognised agreements it wants. And no matter what is protected in UK or international law, well, if Westminster desires to force constitutional change, the constitutional change shall be forced regardless of the law. Well, I then go on to say, let's see if the Supreme Court sees things in the same way. Then we are reminded of the goings-on in Westminster by Esther McVey. Such was the corrupt nature of these goings-on that Esther McVey resigned, as she wanted no part of such corruption. What was the driving force behind this corruption? The answer to the above question isn't complicated. It was, is, and will continue to be as simple as this. There are those that are doing well in terms of career prospects, financial reward, if they support a federal EU pending globalisation, and there are those, by far the greater number of citizens, who are not rewarded at all. In fact, quite the opposite. They stand to lose everything. There are those that love their national identity and would do anything to protect it, and there are those who are wishy-washy, roll over with anything types, and as follows, couldn't care less with reference what happens to their country, their British birthright, and their identity. What a web of corruption we have become entangled in. Of course, this being courtesy of self-serving, money-grabbing dirt that would align with anyone or anything in order to advance their own self-serving agenda. You call this channel Restore. Restore love for one's country, one's national identity. Restore the UK. And this is what's needed in April of 2022. And before I read what was written on the 17th of January in 2019, I want to remind people of something. There are some, if you live in England, if you live in Scotland, if you live in Wales, if you live in Northern Ireland, well, you see, the political landscape is much the same. There are those that love their country. There are those who couldn't care less. There are those that would defend and protect and enhance their nationality at any prospect of doing so. And there are those who simply would not. There are those that would die for this country. And there are those that would not. There are those that would do anything to defend against foreign aggression. And there are those that would welcome any type of aggression in, well, for their own self-serving advancement, that is. And that's no matter why that you're in England, you're in Scotland, you're in Wales, or you're in Northern Ireland. That's the way that it runs right around the United Kingdom. But the reality is that those people couldn't garner enough support to place their axes and remain within this dictatorial Ponzi scheme that was the EU. You see, the silent majority, when it came to the crunch, what they did was they placed their nationality over dictatorship. They placed their love of country, their love of their fellow citizens, their Britishness, their birthright. They placed that over the pending consumption or the consuming by globalists. That's what they did. They stood over and above those that would sell out. And what they did was that they said, well, not on our watch. And what they did was they delivered a Brexit referendum, which shocked, I would say, the great and the good, Well, we know that it did because they were all expecting people not to vote for Brexit. How much that they underestimated that silent majority from within the entire United Kingdom. So the Brexit referendum was over. They lost. And from day one, well, they started to redefine the referendum. They started to try to make every excuse in the book for the fact that they lost. They were sore losers. They were Remoaners. They were Remainers. And they did not accept democracy. That is very, very key, that they did not accept the democratic process. Now, lumped within that conglomerate to which I've just spoken about, you see, that conglomerate, well, they transcend all walks of life. They're the type of people that are in the lower classes, they're in the middle classes, they're in the high classes, they're in the judiciary, they're in the parliament, they're in high jobs, low jobs, they're barristers, they're solicitors, they're doctors, they're nurses, they transcend all walks of life. But the common denominator within those that would like to sell out is that they are sore losers. So much so that they do not accept the democratic right of one who wins in a democratic process to actually take what it was that they actually won. And here we find ourselves from 2016, some 6 years, coming 7 years almost on. And here we find ourselves, these people, well, they still are fighting a referendum in which they've lost. And those people, those ideologues, those Remainers, those Remoaners, well, we'll find them in the courts. We'll find them in the judiciary. We'll find them in the BBC. We'll find them in the media. We'll find them in all walks of life, still fighting. Bit like, say, the old adage that the Vietnam War was over, and there were still some people in the forest still fighting, and yet the war had been over for a very, very long time. And yet these people, the Tony Blairs of this world, to mention just, specifically, well, they're still fighting. They're still fighting, and they're still hoping that they can overturn the result of the Brexit referendum. You see, some of us are as determined as they are for not to let them win. And if you've seen that song, when the world comes in to drive a wedge between us, we must never let them win. We must do everything within our power to hold these people to account, to take them to task, and to claim rightfully, to claim in a democratic way, to claim our democratic right to leave the dictatorial Ponzi scheme that is the EU on the same basis as England, Scotland, and Wales, on the same basis, if you're from Northern Ireland, as the rest of the United Kingdom. So what I want now to do is I want to go back and I want to read from what it was that I had written on 2017, in January of 2017. Now, I wrote this whenever I noticed something that had happened within Theresa May's cabinet. It was to do with a lady called Esther McVey. Now, let me read. Whistleblower Esther McVey tells of her experience as a government minister. Anytime there was an important decision to take with reference Brexit, Theresa May would give ministers pages and pages of legal text at the 11th hour, giving them little or no time to consider what they were being asked to sign up to. The reason why Esther resigned from Theresa May's cabinet, well, Esther told Theresa May that she could not put her name to May's way forward. Esther asked for a democratic vote within the cabinet, asking who supports and who doesn't support Theresa May's way forward. Esther was shouted down, and the cabinet were denied a democratic vote. Esther resigned as a minister the very next day. You see, it's not very often that we as ordinary people get such a huge insight into how corrupt our system of governance had become, has become and continues to be. You see, under Theresa May, that even the ministers from within their cabinet, her cabinet, were not allowed a democratic vote. And we all know that Theresa May was one of these dedicated ideologues, these EU-driven ideologues that was attempting to do anything to dismantle the wishes of the entire United Kingdom whenever 17.4 plus million people voted to leave the dictatorial Ponzi scheme that is the EU. And you see, and if we wanted an insight into how corrupt things were, into how corrupt that these remainers were, well, you see it exactly here when Esther McVeigh, well, she told of her experience from within Theresa May's cabinet. And it's not very often, as I say, that we get an insight into just how vile and how dedicated these Europhiles are whenever it is that they want to derail democratic decision of the entire United Kingdom. And I remember that Theresa May, she took over after David Cameron. And David Cameron was the man. Now, he was a Remainer also, but he lost fairly and squarely the referendum. And he said before the referendum, well, if people vote to leave the EU, leaving the EU is exactly what will happen. He didn't say that the people who would be able to leave would be split up in a way that England, Scotland, and Wales would leave, and Northern Ireland actually wouldn't. So I thought it was very, very important that I would read that. Now, this morning on Restore UK, you'll find that piece on Restore UK, and I posted it again this morning. And here we are actually speaking about it this evening. And this is very interesting. And this is evidence. This is very good evidence as to how corrupt and the lengths that these people would go to in order to try to derail the successes of the people from within the United Kingdom who love the United Kingdom, who cherish the United Kingdom, who cherish their birthright, and who want the continuation of Britishness from within this United Kingdom, who want to make their own laws, who want to be masters of their own destination, and who want to, be masters of their own destination within the world, not having the EU tell them what they can do, when they can do it, what to support, when to support it, how to support things, who to support, and, well, you know how it goes. These people are dictatorial. They've always been, and they always will be. And this is why that we need to shake ourselves from the people that occupy this building just behind me. You know, I seen a video just a few days ago of Nigel Farage speaking about his time in Brussels and talking to the Telegraph, you know, that paper, that national newspaper. And he was speaking in a video when he was saying that whenever he started to attend that building many years ago, he was told from people who would not have liked the European Union in the same way that he did, he was told not to go out in Brussels because that he might be arrested and drugs might be found on him. And, you know, this is from Nigel Farage's own voice. And this is what he said. He said that he was told that he would be set up and that he may end up jailed and demonized and diminished and being made look like a corrupt person who would be taking drugs. All for what? All for standing up against and having the audacity to stand up against the people in this building behind. You see, this is why that it is that we need to leave such a system. Whenever your power is far removed, whenever the seat of power is as far away as Brussels, the reality is, people, is that they can make whatever laws that they want, and you or I or anyone else have absolutely no chance of ever changing those laws. And incrementally, our society is changed before our very eyes, and the fabric of society is changed from one that is stable And we see this happening today as a result and courtesy of the people that occupy this building. But we see what was once stability being turned into a place in where that well, the word volatile could be used, and we could see volatile incrementally change into something much worse than volatile, let's just say, without getting into it. So there we go. There's something that I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you how that it was that Esther McVey, she left Theresa May's cabinet. She left the government because that, you see, there wasn't any democracy from within the Conservative Party under Theresa May's leadership. And we've seen the same from the new man that has taken charge. That's Boris Johnson. And we've seen exactly the same, how that he fires people, how that, if Dominic Cummings, for example, how that it is that, given that he wanted to see Brexit for everyone, well, Dominic Cummings was railroaded out of town, all because that these dictators, well, they want their feet under the tables that occupy this building. They want, their future to be one in which that they can be leaders on a world stage, not caring one jot or one tittle for the people of the United Kingdom who voted in a democratic way to leave this dictatorship and to have once more from within the United Kingdom a democracy in which everyone that lives here could actually be proud of, a democracy in which that we all accept the outcome of a vote, even although that we may not like it. Like the people of Northern Ireland. Most people from the unionist background in Northern Ireland did not vote for that Belfast Agreement, given that we've seen the IRA planting bombs in Canary Wharf to gain concessions. And we've seen from that day going forward that it had become an appeasement process. It wasn't a peace process. It was a piece by piece process designed to dismantle British unionism from within Northern Ireland. So moving on. What I want to do at this point is that I want to also now remind people, and this is just purely for documentation purpose, I want to remind people of something that Boris Johnson himself had said at a DUP conference just a few years ago, before that it was that he completely shafted unionism here in Northern Ireland. And by extension, he shafted the people of the United Kingdom. So here we go. Boris looking after himself. Did he respect these words? Did he care that he uttered these words? Well, you make your own decision. And we'll be back in a second.
And we will be damaging the fabric of the Union with regulatory checks and even customs controls between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, on top of those extra regulatory checks down the Irish Sea that are already envisaged in the withdrawal agreement. Now, I have to tell you, no British Conservative government could or should sign up to any such arrangement. And so
So when people hear me saying that, that we have the democratic right, that we have the moral high ground, that, it's clear to be seen that we were shafted from every conceivable angle. We were shafted from David Cameron, who defined the referendum. We were shafted by Theresa May, who didn't want to give her cabinet a democratic vote as to whether or not that they thought that Theresa May, in her Remainer fashion, was doing the right thing. And then we hear from Boris, from his own words, that no British government, no British Prime Minister could agree to such a thing. And yet he went on and he agreed. And he also, he offloaded some of his cabinet. He offloaded some special advisors that were perhaps reminding him of his own words in order that he could go on and that he could look after himself. And I have some sympathy for the DUP in that they held Theresa May in power, in that they also supported throughout the Brexit scenario the Conservative Party. I've some sympathy for them in terms of is that at the first opportunity, well, the DUP were actually shafted, and the DUP made the wrong move because the DUP should have stood with the people of Northern Ireland. They should have stood by their electorate. They should have said not an inch. If there is anything happens to Northern Ireland with reference the Brexit process, whenever we in Northern Ireland, the people that voted to leave the EU, well, we made up part of that 17.4 plus million people. Well, if anything goes wrong, well, the DUP should have been suggesting that they were going to have absolutely no part in this appeasement process, which started in 1996. However, they didn't. What they did was they tried to keep their feet under the table with the Conservatives, and they, as usual, they walked away from the British Unionist electorate here in Northern Ireland, just trying to keep themselves right. And that has to be said. That has to be said. Because Arlene Foster, let's remember, she wrote a letter, jointly penned it with Martin McGuinness, to Theresa May, begging for no border here between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, where it is, and where that if the EU needed a border, wanted a border, where that border should have been. And there was Arlene Foster pleading for no border there, but yet accepting a border between England, Scotland, and Wales, and in Northern Ireland. We've got to make the best of it. She was implementing it. She was creating the mechanisms in Armagh, along with Michelle O'Neill and Simon Coveney, prior to the protocol coming into place in December of 2020. Arlene Foster was in Armagh with Simon Coveney and Michelle O'Neill, putting together how that it was that the protocol was going to function. Well, without getting into all the things that Arlene Foster done, because she's no longer as a result, well, there you go. That's what happens whenever you try to look after yourself and you don't actually try to look after the people which you claim to represent. And, aren't we glad that she did what she did? Aren't we glad that, say, for example, Jeffrey Donaldson says that we have to exploit the benefits of the protocol? Aren't we glad that Edwin Poots wanted to export from Northern Ireland to the GB market? I mean, who wrote these people's scripts? Who writes these people's scripts? But aren't we glad that those things happened? Because what it has done in Northern Ireland is that it has caused a huge awakening within the people that vote here in Northern Ireland. And let's just see what happens at the next election. There is going to be a rise of the TUV, and that rise will be unstoppable from next week going forward. It was good to see just a few days ago that the DUP people in South Down, what they did, the hierarchy within that constituency, they completely resigned, and they're off to support the local TUV candidate. Well done to that DUP constituency, and also well done to the TUV for having achieved that, and having achieved that absolute support from fellow unionists who can see that by supporting the DUP, the writing was and will continue to be actually on the wall. Now let's just see what happens after next week. We're all watching for what happens after the election come next week. I'm on record as having predicted that Jeffrey would be trotting out what he heard on the doorstep was that people want him to go back to Stormont. And let's just see if I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll accept that I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Let's just see how that it is that things are tried to be moved. Well, again, that of course will depend on the results of the election, but let's just see what happens after next week's election on the 5th of May here in Northern Ireland. So there we go, people. I just wanted to talk about the Brexit process. I just wanted to talk about how that it was that the Conservatives run that Brexit process, how that it was that at every turn they wanted to shaft the people of the United Kingdom. If they had their way, the entire United Kingdom would not have left as per the democratic referendum. What those elites would have done is that they would have wanted to be with their elite friends in this building, just behind us, completely contrary to the popular will of the people of the entire United Kingdom. But how wrong are they? How out of touch are they? And well, it's now beginning to show how wrong and how out of touch that they actually are and how that they have been. So now we're going to talk about something that happened on Monday. You see, on Monday, the case which was started in terms of judicial review, or should I say the cases, quote unquote, that was started in terms of the judicial review against the protocol. Well, let me give you the origin of the case that I've been heavily involved with. The origin of that case began in its embryonic form in 2019. It progressed in 2020. And did you know that the case that the people at Restore are involved in, that we, up until today's date, that we couldn't actually talk about? Well, you see, that was the first case that was lodged in the Court of Appeal. And soon after came the case from Jim Allister, Kate Hoey, and Ben Habib. So you see, what I'm aiming to tell you, people, is that now thank heavens for the Kate Hoey and the Ben Habib and the Jim Allister case. But thank heavens for that. But what I'm aiming to impress upon you is that if that case hadn't been happening, you see, the people at Restore, we were prescient enough to be out there, to having had things prepared and to having things already lodged. Now, these were things that we couldn't actually talk about. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that has happened actually since. So I would have talked about it slightly before when I would have been calling the other case, quote unquote, the lesser spotted case, because to date, the media has never, ever talked about it. In fact, we were told by some in the media that the media are refraining from highlighting that case, this case, and that's because that this case, well, we're told that any publicity seemingly would be good publicity because of how that it is that we do things here at Restore UK. So there you go. There is an actual fact. An actual fact is that the case that we were involved in, well, that was actually lodged first. And, well, soon after, in the very week that it happened, came the case from Ben Habib, Kate Hoey, and Jim Allister. And they're the people that I'm going to designate as having taken that case, because that's the reality. Is that there are only a few people with their mind, body, spirit, and soul into that other case. Not the hangers-oners, not the people who would have came at a late stage to the other case, but the people who actually care. And those people are, and I've got to take my hat off to these people, Ben Habib, for having put his hand in his own pocket to fund the other case. Kate Hoey, who goes above and beyond at every single turn with reference trying to defeat the EU constitutional changing protocol. And well, what needs to be said about Jim Allister, a man of 69 years of age, if I'm right. People let me know in the live chat if I'm wrong. But the energy that that man has, the fight that he has in him for the union that he loves so dearly, the fight that that man has in him for the people of Northern Ireland who have been shafted, the fight that that man has in him against the Republican movement, the enemies of Ulster, the fight that that man has continuously shown that he has in him for a man of his age, well, that's got to be absolutely commended, and commended to the nth degree by each and every single person that calls themselves unionists within the United Kingdom. That's no matter whether you're from England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Jim Allister will go down, I believe, in history. So, that's what I have to say about that case. But focusing on the case that we here at Restore have been involved in its embryonic stages from 2019. Well, you see, this week, whenever the advice now suggests that we've got to the Supreme Court. Now, apparently this is the second time that this has ever been done in such a way that there hadn't even an argument to be made to go from judicial review to Court of Appeal to Supreme Court. I mean, this thing has just been moved on and referred directly to the Supreme Court. And what gives us great pleasure here at Restore and the people that are involved in that case, what gives us absolute pleasure is that, well, we really should have recorded what we were speaking about at the start, because from day one, we all were under no illusion that this was going to the Supreme Court and directly to the Supreme Court. Do not pass go, do not collect 200, go directly to the Supreme Court. And we knew from day one that this is exactly where this was going to end up. Now, one other very important point about this case is that in the Court of Appeal, the summary given or the delivery given by the appeal court with reference why that the appeal was not being upheld, well, you see, what it did was that it cited a very, very important thing that made this case that we're involved in, that made this case very, very crucial to having actually got to the Supreme Court. And we have this in writing from the appeal court. And the summary from the judgment said this, that if it wasn't for the case by the people at Restore, well, there wouldn't have been an appeal. It would have been stopped. It would have been absolutely stopped at a judicial review stage. And for this reason, that there was a time frame by which that you had to lodge for an appeal. And, well, it was the case that we're involved in. It was our case that had actually submitted those papers, those requests for an appeal in a timely fashion. And that's what the judgment actually said at the appeal court. If it wasn't for the case that we're involved in, there wouldn't be an appeal, and therefore there wouldn't be a Supreme Court. So you see, that was the benefit, let's just say, of having two cases moving along side by side, fighting for exactly the same things. And as I said, I have absolute respect for Ben Habib, for Kate Hoy, for Jim Allister. Complete 100%, 100 million% respect for those people. But you see, we are better than I. People are better together. When several sets of people are fighting all fighting in the one direction. Well, there we go. It is that type of thing that can happen, and it is that type of thing that I've just mentioned. But it can be crucial. It can be crucial for getting us to where that it is that we need to be. Now, we're under no illusion. We're under absolutely no illusion, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about this in the very, very near future. And because the shackles are off, we can speak about it now. We've been given the legal advice that we can talk about this. We can have a media strategy on the run up to the Supreme Court. So the burden is off, the shackles are off, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about the lesser spotted case, which is driving to defeat the constitutional changing EU protocol. So there we go, people. For all of the people that has supported Restore UK, for anyone that has decided and put a penny or two into our call to put money into our live chat or into our PayPal link. You see, your efforts weren't in vain, and your efforts will never be in vain, because we're not only talkers, we're doers. We do things. We fight meaningfully, proactively, and in a way that we would ask of others, in a way that would defend, protect, and enhance Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom, and by extension, the entire United Kingdom. So there we go, people. There we go. That's what happened on Monday. Now our shackles are off. Now that we can talk about things, you're going to be hearing more about our road to the Supreme Court in order to fight this constitutional changing protocol, which, in my opinion, in my considered opinion, is illegal, is unconstitutional, is anti-democratic, is immoral. And there are just a few words, but that's what that constitutional changing protocol is. And that's what some of your leaders, that's what some of your politicians that you put in place to serve and protect you, well, that's what they were prepared to roll over and to accept. Not on our watch. So I would like for each and every one of you to give yourselves a big round of applause for supporting us, for making us the channel that we are. And, well, you kept us on the road. You put wind in our sails. You've helped us to get to where that it is that we've got to today. Together, people, we are strong. Together, we are definitely better than I. So there we go. That's the announcement that we had to make today. You see, and I'm going to say those words again, to which that we give title to this stream: Foresight with added hindsight. Well, it can be beneficial, very beneficial in the future. Like I just said, with reference what Esther McVey done in times of Theresa May. Well, Esther McVey gave us the biggest insight that we could ever have with reference to corruption that was deployed to try to derail the entire Brexit process. We've got to take our hats off to Esther McVey. We owe Esther McVey a lot. If you come from England, Scotland, or Wales, if you come from Northern Ireland, if you support the United Kingdom, if you want to see the continuation of the United Kingdom, if you have a British birthright, if you well, if you want to see your children growing up the way that you grew up, well, you've got to take your hats off to Esther McVey, and you've got to thank her for exactly what it is that she's done. That lady needs a knighthood. That's what she needs. And maybe that we should start, and we can do this because today that we posted what it was that we had on the Bruises group, and I have to say it's going viral on the Bruises group, and we're going to follow up perhaps with another post tomorrow asking for a campaign to have Esther McVey, with a knighthood for what it was that she was prepared to do. She was prepared to sacrifice herself. She was prepared to put her country, the United Kingdom, the Brexit process before her own selfish interest. And that's what we need in politics today, right around the United Kingdom. So there we go, people. That's what we were here for to explain this evening. Now, what I want to do before that I close, and I'm going to go through some of the live chat, if there's anything that you want to speak about, if you could actually pop something up into the live chat, well, we'll go through it, and we'll see if there's anything that we can answer for you. So here we go. What I want to do is I want to pop up this PayPal link. Now, here's the thing. We are going all the way to the Supreme Court. Here at Restore, we'll be at the Supreme Court for however long that it lasts. We will be there. We will be there with our cameras. We will be there documenting. We will be there reporting on exactly what's happening from the Supreme Court. Now, we can't do this on our own steam. We can't do this with our own money. We need help. This is where people need to come together, and this is where people needs to help us. We've never asked for a penny for what it was that we've done to date with reference the judicial review, the appeal to the judicial review, the toings and froings and things that we had to do to get this case to the point that it is. Well, you see, we hadn't asked for anything until this date. And we're saying, well, if anyone would like to help us, well, what you will be doing is that you will be ensuring that we will be at that Supreme Court, and we will be reporting from that Supreme Court for and on behalf of you, letting you know the ins and the outs and the decisions as they're being made. So there we go, people. Yet again, another delivery from Restore UK, the people at Restore UK, and it has only been since Monday that we were able to tell you what it is that we've been involved in for some 2 years now. So there we go. So if you can help us, pop a few pounds into that live chat, and that would be absolutely marvelous if you could. So people, as I told you from last Wednesday, thinking I had hay fever, still being very, very congested. Look, I'm not off my feet. I can move around, I'm completely okay that way. I haven't tested positive for any of the viruses that are running around. I've got a really, really bad head cold or a man flu, whatever it is that we want to call it. And I haven't really left the house since last Wednesday evening. But here we are this evening, able to do the broadcast as we've done. And I hope that you have enjoyed this broadcast. I hope that you can help us with a few pounds into that live chat. And I will be back very, very soon. I see that Lorna Smith apparently has weighed in here. And Lorna, I'm going to say to you, Lorna, over the next few days, if you would like to maybe join us with reference, there was a subject that you were speaking about today, and I have to say it's something that I would like to speak about with you, and it's with reference the Casement Park and how that it was that a unionist politician is calling for some 140 million. Well, I think the GAA had said they were going to put 15 million into it. So how that it is that an Ulster unionist is calling for 140 130 million thereabouts to be taken from the public purse in times when people can't get hospital treatment, when there's ambulances that can't get people to hospital. A leader of the Ulster Unionist Party is calling for 130 million to be taken from the public purse and to be given to the GAA in a completely unfair, and I say, quote unquote, unfair way. And I would like to save what it was that I wanted to say with reference that until maybe that myself and Lorna can sit and we can have a little chat about it here live on Restore. So, Lorna, if you'd like to maybe, I don't know, come on tomorrow evening, or also, or perhaps even Friday evening, to talk about the piece that you wrote with reference a unionist leader wanting to stump up £130 million from the public purse over and above what he wants to give for the Irish language fraternity. Well, I would like to dedicate a live stream to that here on Restore UK. It's unbelievable, people. It is really unbelievable. So there you go yet again, people. If you can help our endeavors by putting something into that PayPal account, please do. So look, I'm going to, there's a question for me, so just bear with me for a second. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this up and I'm going to read from it. So this is from Amanda Mack. John, what's your thoughts on Sinn Féin being the biggest party and having the position of First Minister, and can this be prevented if all those who have voted DUP in the past vote TUV? Amanda, there's various combinations to look at whenever you look at this Sinn Féin First Minister thing. Well, the reality is, yes, if all those, just as you've said there, if all those who voted DUP vote for the TUV, well, we wouldn't have a problem. But in saying we wouldn't have a problem, maybe there's not enough candidates actually being run by the TUV right now. So if all people vote for the TUV and then transfer to other unionist parties who want to see the end of the constitutional changing EU protocol, well, there won't be a First Minister if that's the reality. But that's assuming that everyone will vote. That's assuming that the DUP at the last election didn't cause huge disconnect. So it's very, very hard to tell as to whether or not that Sinn Féin would be on course for the so-called being the biggest party, because being the biggest party is all that matters. Symbolism might rear its ugly head, and it might be used by nationalists to say, well, we're the biggest party and we want a border poll. But the truth of the matter is that, that there is no First Minister or Deputy First Minister these days. They're joint office. They're joint First Minister. It has been the case since St Andrews. So the symbolism, although that's all it is, it's symbolism. I personally wouldn't worry too much about it. What I would encourage people to do is to get out and vote, for the TUV, to make the transfers to the other anti-protocol parties, and to ensure that others also make those transfers in exactly the same way. Now, there are other combinations, and it happened, previously, in where, who remembered Mike Nesbitt, vote the Ulster Unionist Party, or vote the SDLP, and get the Ulster Unionist Party, is what he was saying. Which had a detrimental effect on unionism previously. So there's that aspect to be taken into consideration too, also, where perhaps the vote in the Assembly may have been up previously if it hadn't for Mike and his brainwave of a harebrained scheme to vote for your opposition and expect to save British unionism. I mean, these so-called Ulster Unionist Party people and the hierarchy and the people that have been running that party, well, they really do bigger belief. And so there you go. I hope that answers things in the best way that we can. And, truth of the matter is, Amanda, that we're not really going to see how things transpire until after next Thursday. And we're going to see the results popping through the television screens in the days thereafter. And we're soon going to be able to analyse the entire election. And, we've been going very easy on say, the DUP of late. We've been going fairly easy on the UUP of late. Unionism needs to stand together. And, I'm never going to place my vote in a first preferential way with the DUP ever again after they shafted me previously. I may hold my nose and do UUP only if the candidate is someone who isn't really associated with the hierarchy of that party. I'm not asking anyone to follow me in that respect, but something. I had a conversation with a friend who said, well, maybe it's a good thing if the UUP takes some votes off Alliance. Well, maybe it is purely for the reason that they've taken some votes off Alliance. But don't expect those voters to step up to the plate, to step up to the mark whenever that it is that unionism needs to stand and be counted for the right reasons. Those people are, well, in my honest opinion, they're not unionists. They're airy-fairy liberal types who, well, they would vote for anything. They vote for feeling. They don't vote for what it is that hard fact that is laid out in front of them. They have these warm, fuzzy feelings that they vote for. That's how those people are. They're not voting in depth or with any type of thought processes that have been exhausted to the nth degree. These people, they vote because that their emotions tell them to vote in a particular way. And isn't it absolutely unfortunate that that's the way that things are in this country today? So there we go. I hope that sort of answered that, Amanda. But as I say, we aren't going to know the outcome until next week, and it's not going to be as the doomsayers would say on in the mainstream media. It's definitely not going to be that way. A British unionist, a Protestant, a unionist, or a loyalist, and I hate using all those divisional terms, but you see, once in those folds, you're always in those folds, and what you'll do is you'll vote for what it is that seeks to keep you as part of the United Kingdom. That's what happens, and that's what will happen. Now, whether or not the Sinn Féin managed to get themselves a few extra votes, well, that remains to be seen. But one other thing, no matter whether it goes good or it goes bad, it won't go disastrous, but no matter whether it goes good or it goes bad, there will be increases for the TUV, which will be brilliant. And it'll be the start of a process that will ultimately see unionism being revived here in Northern Ireland. I hope that it does better than I anticipate. No matter what happens, we will have that to look forward to. We'll definitely have that to look forward to. And the other aspect is that if the DUP take a pasting, if the UUP take a pasting or make some gains from Alliance, well, what we can do and what we will be able to do is we'll be able to examine the entire process at the end, and then we'll begin to shout about why that it was that it happened. And I think most people know the reasons why that things potentially aren't so good right now, because we all got behind the DUP at the general election. And as in the words of Carson, we were humble rungs in that letter that helped the DUP climb into power. And once in power, they kicked away the letter. And they done the complete opposite from that which they had promised us whenever they entered into the new decade, New Deal, giving an IRA Language Act as good as by giving the IRA their Irish Language Commissioner, and as in the words of Shana Walsh, when he said that they want to use the Irish language, they want to repossess the Irish language, they want to use it to green Northern Ireland street by street using Irish language. That's what he said. And we understand exactly what their strategy is. So listen, people, thanks very much for coming along. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting really croaky. I can't speak any further. So please do leave some messages in the live chat if you can help our work again. I'm going to pop up where is it? I'll just pop it into the live chat again. So I'm going to pop up our PayPal link, and if you can help us, please do. There we go. So we've just give you an exclusive here from Restore UK, is that we're off to the Supreme Court, and we couldn't actually talk about it until Monday there. We couldn't actually tell you, the ordinary people here at Restore UK, that, well, we had been involved in talking about taking a case from all corners of the United Kingdom, all four corners of the United Kingdom, but then circumstances overtook, and the people from Northern Ireland, we went it alone, which has resulted in, the constitutional changing protocol. Well, it is going to the Supreme Court for judgment on its validity. Thanks very much for coming along. Sorry that my voice is as bad as it is. I'm going to have to get some lubricant, some oil down the neck here. And let's hope within the next few days I'm repaired. I don't feel bad, people. I've just got a real bad congested head cold. And as I say, I haven't tested positive for any of the strains or the viruses or anything else that comes along with it. So playing us out with something that we actually started with. And we'll see you all real soon. And thanks very much for supporting us. Please share the screen. Please tag people in the live chat. If you're new to the channel, give us a love, give us a like, give us a share, and we'll see you all very soon. And Lorna Smith, if you're listening, I'll speak to you by way of private message very soon, with reference talking about the subject that you were writing about either today or yesterday. Thanks once again, people, for coming along. Thank you.
Dark as a highway, going in my head. One smell of colitas rising up through the air. Head in the distance, saw shimmering light. My head grew heavy and my sight grew dim, and I had to stop for the night. There she stood and looked away. Heard the mission bells, and I was thinking to myself, this could be heaven or this could be hell. Lit up the candle, showed me the way. There are voices down the corridor that I heard them say, hey, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely place. Plenty room at the Hotel California. Anytime of year, you can find it here. you up in the middle of the night just to hear them say, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely place. Living it up at the Hotel California. What a nice surprise. Bring your mirrors on the ceiling, pink champagne on ice. Say, we're all just prisoners here of our own device. The masters and chambers gathered for their peace, staggered with their still knives, but they just can't kill the beast. Last thing I remember is running for the door, yeah, at the front of passage back to the place I was before. Relax, said the night man, programmed to receive. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
We didn't join Europe to be swallowed up in some bureaucratic conglomerate where it's Euro this and Euro that and forget about being British. We're British and we're proud of it. Proud of our traditions, proud of our national character,